So you're going to people's houses. So obviously, like that's where they live. Sometimes letting a stranger in can be very daunting, especially when
Yeah.
they have a family. So how do you build trust with a family very quickly to get them to, want to do business with you?
Yeah, that's such a good question because every day you walk into a different scenario with a different type of person. Like I tell all of my team members, like we all want to drive out to our leads and hope that we're getting Dick and Jane who are like, "Oh, we've been waiting for you. Like, let's throw on a pot of coffee. Like, we need windows so bad." And like, listen, those are great when you get them, but that's one out of every 100 leads you run. So
Yeah.
if you're driving out thinking you're going to run into the perfect scenario, you're hurting yourself. Most of the leads we run, 90%, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just looking for a quote, like windows over there. Like the guy that I was with this morning was like, you don't need me for this, right? And I'm like, dude, this is your home. You don't want to be part of like the whole experience. And by the end, like we warmed him up and we built trust with him. And when I train my new classes, trust is built in the first 5 to 10 minutes by the way that you show up, by the way that you address them, by the way that you take off your shoes when you get into the house, make eye contact with them, ask them how their day was going. You have to humanize yourself first. Because
Mhm.
if you don't let them know that, yes, it's your house, but it's my appointment and I'm a person, I'm not just some like sales robot, then, things can be very difficult, right? You go right into the script within meeting somebody in 30 seconds. You just let them know, like, you're a sales robot
Yep. So let's talk
and
about
you're
that. Let's
in
talk
control.
about the process. So you walk in, you're now building rapport, assuming that you're going into discovery now. You know that they're there, to talk about Windows. I mean, does Anderson sell anything other than Windows or is it just Windows?
Windows and doors.
Windows and doors. Okay. So
Windows
what does
and
that
doors.
discovery phase look like?
Yeah. Yeah. So, every appointment has a lead sheet and, it'll tell them like, oh, they called in for two windows and a door. I don't want anyone like on a perfect appointment. I don't even want them reading the lead sheet because then that kind of messes with the discovery, right?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, my office told me I'm coming out to look at two windows. It's like, no, no, no. Let's have a conversation about your house, your energy efficiency, your drafts. Like if I'm going to solve a real problem, it's not a two window lead, it could be your whole house. So I never want to pigeonhole myself. So, even though you have a lead sheet and you know what they called in on, I don't want to bring that to life because I want more. I always want more.
Gotcha. Okay. So you have this lead sheet. It's essentially telling you why they called. Instead of going through and preparing for, let's say, 15 or 20 minutes, trying to think of different scenarios, you're going in there, you're building rapport by earning their trust and being human, and then moving on to the next segment of the sales process, which I'm
Mhm.
assuming is a demo, or what does that look like?
Yes. Give me three reasons why you're looking to replace your windows and doors. Because I want to feel them out a little bit and kind of figure out like, I'm going to do my next piece is my inspection. And that's when I get outside and kind of can change the lead because they can call up for whatever they want. If I find something wrong with something else, I'm not doing my job if I don't show it to you.
Hmm.
Right. So, really, it's just getting a feel for them and kind of setting the foundation of like, here's how they feel about their home, their problems. Maybe it's draft, maybe it's security, maybe it's the aesthetics. I don't know until I know. And then once I have what they care about, now I'm going to try to add to it by saying, hey, has anyone pointed this out to you? And it kind of goes from the discovery into an inspection. Then by the time I get to my demo, I want to be talking about everything on the house. I don't want to just bring in one sample. I want to bring in my whole bag and
Hmm.
just show them as much as possible.
So that's interesting. So you're showing credibility by doing the inspection and literally pointing to it and sharing with them, hey, did you realize that you have this problem here? So not only are they telling you, but you're walking around the house and you're finding and uncovering new things that could be potential problems for them.
Yeah, I want to be the doctor. Like, you don't go into a doctor's office and tell them what you need. You go in and tell them what's going on, and then they tell you what you need. So
Hmm.
I want to establish myself as the doctor. Like, yes, you called me in. You have some symptoms, right? Some cold symptoms, but like, I'm not just gonna take one look at you and be like, yeah, this is the medicine you need. Like, I'm gonna run
Hmm.
tests, and then I'm gonna tell you, hey, I know you thought it was this, but you don't have a cold at all. You actually have a virus. Like it might be way worse than you think, right? I'm glad you came in. because let's fix this. That's the sort of vibe that I want to create while I'm with, a homeowner. It's like, yeah, it's your house, but I'm the expert. I'm the professional. Like at the
Yep.
end of the day, you're going to take my prescription and then we'll kind of help you that way.
So other than like the obvious aesthetics and like the draft coming in and raising maybe like the bill every month, what other things are selling points to them?
Yeah, there's you go through like this whole thing called frames, and it's an acronym, right? So it's like functionality, resale value, aesthetics, maintenance, energy efficiency, security, and safety. Every single person I meet falls into one of those buckets, if not all of them. Some people fall into, they got an old house with original single pane wood windows. They're probably falling into every single one of these buckets.
Hmm.
In a newer house with some cheap builder, right? The builds these days are not like they were 50 years ago. New home builds are so cheap that somebody could buy like a brand new house and have all these energy efficiency problems with it. And, house
Wow.
looks mint, like it looks beautiful, but their bills are so high, like $800, $900 a month in oil.
So is there a way for you guys to target those homes? Like, is that one of the demographics that you go after or your
Yeah.
company?
Yeah, for sure. It's the marketing machine that we have targets everybody. Like it's a volume based business. Like if we could get into, 100,000 homes, we know the math will work out where we're going to make our money.
Hmm.
So it's, I've gotten this question a lot from like newer reps who are just like, why don't we go into co-ops and hand out cards? And it's like, trust me, the company has emailed all of those people. We've put flyers in all of their mailboxes. You can go out and hand cards if you want, but they've been hit 10 times.
Yep. So I don't know a lot about home improvement, windows, but I do know Andersen. I see their TV commercials all the time, very expensive. And the
Mhm.
other thing I know about windows is there's a lot of companies that offer a solution as well. And so, being that you guys are very expensive, when that price objection gets brought up, how are you getting around that and overcoming that to then getting the sale and actually improving the value of their home and making everything more efficient?
Yeah, price conditioning is one of the most important things on these appointments. It's the glue that holds everything together. Like, right, we have a sales process. But if you get from point A to point Z and there was no price conditioning, it doesn't matter how many smiles you got. It doesn't matter how many times they told you, "Oh, I love the way the window looks." If it's astronomically higher than what they thought it was going to be, you don't stand a chance. So price conditioning is a very nuanced thing. There's a million ways to do it. I am very blunt. So early in my career, I would dance around it. I would say things like, "Oh, home improvements are expensive." Like that's such a broad thing to say. Now
Hmm.
I'm so seasoned and so nuanced. Like if I'm there for their entry door and some other windows, and the bay window is like mint, it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. I'll say something like, "Hey, I'm glad you don't have to replace that one. That's like a $16,000 window, right?" And they're like, "Oh my God," their head starts recalibrating everything because they're like, "I thought that was $5,000."